Morning, everyone. I am Bryn Donnelly, Vice President of Pet Programs at Greater Good Charities, and I'm going to be talking to you today about our Don't Forget the Pets initiative that we do in partnership with Red Rover. Before we jump right into that, I just wanted to share a little bit about Greater Good Charities and some of the other cool things they might be able to do for your organizations. Every year, we give out a lot of cash grant support. We provide meals for people, meals for pets, but more importantly, even is some of the disaster relief work we do for you all. You definitely should go to greatergood.org and check out some of our cool granting programs. Today, and kind of in conjunction with our Don't Forget the Pets work, is my program, Rescue Rebuild. So back in 2006, I started a program for renovating animal shelters. And then over the course of our history, we evolved that to building out pet spaces at domestic violence shelters and homeless shelters. We are a boots on the ground construction company, a lot like Habitat for Humanity. And so when you apply for a Rescue Rebuild grant, which we'll talk about a little bit in a little bit, sorry, you will see that we end up showing up at your shelter, not always in this big, very bold trailer. We do keep in mind the security issues of domestic violence, but if you're a homeless shelter provider, we may show up with that huge rig. Since 2010, when we started actually renovating human service shelters, we have provided over 325,000 nights of safety and over $2.4 million in services. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about our Don't Forget the Pets work. So when we started offering cash grants, us and Red Rover, to domestic violence shelters and homeless shelters, we would call organizations and say, hey, we have all this money and we would love to help you start pet programs. While people were nice enough to not just hang up on us right away, we got a lot more no's than we got yeses. So we realized pretty quickly in this kind of mission shift that we were going to need to provide way more support service before people were going to just jump right on the train and say yes to pet programming and housing people and pets together. In 2019, we decided we needed to kind of put our money where our mouth is, and we started with a training workshop out in Kansas City. We brought together human service shelters, law enforcement, animal welfare organizations, politicians, Family Justice Center, and really just got everybody in the room together while we were training to also discuss how they could work together. We'll talk a little bit about collaboration today, but if you join us for a workshop, you'll see that that is a huge focus of what we try to do while we're doing the in-persons. So that was 2019. Then, of course, COVID came. So we had to evolve like we all did, and we started offering these training workshops virtually. Now, this year, we are actually going to move that to a go at your own pace online training platform. And we're back on the road doing the in-persons. I'm actually in Dallas right now, getting ready to do a training workshop tomorrow. So the training workshops are great. You can do them at your own pace. We can come to your city. You can do them virtually. But we realize that even with that, with this process kind of being, a little daunting and a little bit easy to catastrophize, as we say, that we needed to offer even more support service. And so we started our coaching program. So if you go to our Don't Forget the Pets website, you can see what training workshops we have coming up. You can apply to have us come to your own city, or you can sign up for our coaching program where we can offer your organization one-on-one help and support with startup, protocols and processes, funding, you name it. And that's what we're really going to talk about today. What does that look like, and what are these services that we can provide? When we start with the trainings, we found it's really important to go over the why. You are all sitting here. Clearly, you realize that you're either interested in starting a pet program or offering some sort of services to pets and pets of people in crisis. But not everybody on your board and staff might be where you are. And so we start with the why of why is it important to start pet programs? From the preserving the human animal bond to the power that pets bring to healing in general. But it's really important to make sure that your board and staff are on the same page as you. And so understanding the statistics, understanding why it's important from a scientific benefit, Understanding what pets can do for your shelter is a huge part of creating a sustainable and successful program. We go through a lot of stats. We go through obviously the link between abuse and just all of the different parts of the link. Most of you probably understand that, but your board might not, and your community for sure isn't, and neither will your stakeholders. And so it's important to really understand the stats behind it to make sure that those fundraisers for you and your community is going to support your program as well as your board and staff. Some of the stats we go over are pretty obvious. We are a country of pet owners. 70% of our homes have pets. 95% of pet owners consider pets part of their family. And approximately 10 to 25% of our people in our country that are unhoused do so with a pet. In addition to all of those things, we really love to go through what do pets mean to people in terms of healing, actually seeking services. We know that being a pet parent is a huge barrier to service. If we're not serving pets, we're not going to be able to serve the people. And that's a really important part of what we talk about during our training, the why part of our training. Um, Another thing we've heard over the years from all those no's and hang-ups on us is that we're already overworked. Our shelters around the country are doing huge, huge, huge work. We understand that. But what we challenge during the training and during our coaching is that this isn't really more work. It's just different work. You really can put pets to work for you. We know that pets help us heal. And at the end of the day, our job is to really move people through our services, get people to a healthy, happy place, and then we can start helping the next person. And so if we can do the amazing work that we're all doing a little bit faster and easier because we're helping their pets as well, that's a no-brainer. In addition to just the general preservation of the human-animal bond, pets are amazing. They help us feel more secure. They build that empathy and trust, but also they really are a bridge to trust. We hear from so many of our partners and so many of the people that they're serving that, oh, well, I wasn't going to really come in and get services, but then I saw that you were having a vaccine clinic, that you were offering flea and tick meds, and we came in. And that brings them to service. So it helps us bridge so many gaps in our service providing. And so definitely a win-win for us and definitely puts those pets to work for us. Another thing that we get asked very frequently during our trainings and during this process is, do you have a checklist? What do we need to do? How do we really get these programs started? And we have not created a checklist simply because it seems like every organization that we work with comes at us from kind of a different space, a different part in their own process. Some have had a funder reach out to them and say, hey, I have money for pet programming. What do you have? And so they're coming at it from, we know we have the funding, but we don't have any idea how to get this started. Some know that they have this cool animal collaborator or a human service collaborator, but they don't really know how to move that collaboration to the next step. Some don't know how to set up the structure and the operations, but they already know how they're going to house their pets. They know what they want to do. They're not worried about fundraising. So it's like, how do you take all those different perspectives and put that in a checklist? And so we prefer to think of it as buckets. So we have a training handbook. We obviously have a website, don't forget thepets.org, that you can go to, and it kind of walks you through these different buckets and gives you steps within each of those buckets so that no matter where you're coming at this from, you have a place that you can start and get going. Excuse me. I have terrible allergies. We're going to talk about allergies. Sitting in hotel rooms make mine the worst. So the big part of what we talk about once we move out of the why and getting our program started is collaboration. You have to start with your core group. So whether you're a human service organization or an animal welfare organization wanting to help people and pets, this is your core group. Human service organizations, you really need to have a really good, well-defined relationship with an animal service organization. We talk about setting up partnership agreements or memorandums of understanding so that you have this like infrastructure that can help you so that when you have the inevitable change of, staffing, that your program doesn't suffer because of that. So we walk you through all that, the different roles that each of the different partners bring to the table. Of course, your veterinary partner to keep everything going and moving forward is an incredibly important part. But we also challenge you during the training to really look and see who are the other collaborators within your community that really do have a role in these kind of pet programmings. So, law enforcement is a huge part, of course. Other nonprofits are also very, very helpful. And then really engaging your landlords in your housing. We know we're all worried about housing. It's not easy in general, and it's not easy with a pet. So what can you do in your community to get the collaborations going that are really going to help you move people to a more successful outcome with their pets? All right, designing your spaces, of course, my favorite part since I'm the construction dork. But when we talk about designing our pet spaces, if you go to the website or the training handbook, you'll see we kind of divide everything up into pet plans. So, pet plan one being we're just going to put the pet in the room with their pet parent so that all that care is on them. We don't have to create a new space. We walk you through the pros and cons of each of these and which will be best for your organization. But that is one of our faves. It's easy, it's inexpensive, and it's really not that hard to mitigate the risks. Communal housing, very important for our homeless providers. When we talk about communal housing, obviously all of this is communal housing, but what we mean are those large open spaces. How do you design those spaces to safely be able to house pets and people together? And what are some of the cool tricks you can do? Pet plan three would be converting an existing space. So, an office that can be repurposed, a storage closet, one of my faves, maybe a garage. Pet plan four is going to be building a new space, whether that's in addition to your shelter or dropping a shed or an accessory building on your property to house pets. And we actually do have some tips and tricks for our animal shelters. Obviously, they're already housing pets. They don't need to be taught how to do that. But there are some safety features that you can build in and design into your program to keep everybody safe, pets and your staff. Um, We love our data. So whenever anybody shows up at a training, we always ask them to evaluate us, and we ask them survey questions. And one of our favorites is, what do you see as your biggest hurdle to starting a pet program? And after years of collecting data, these are our top seven. They say we don't have space in our shelter. We're concerned about allergies. How much is it going to cost to start it, to sustain it? Liability, of course, board of directors love the liability question. How are we going to keep people safe? How do we keep our building insurance costs low? Are they going to destroy the place? Fear of pets. Number five is one of my favorites to remind everybody of. Your clients, some of them are going to be very fearful of pets. Some of your staff might be afraid of pets. How are you going to design your program and design, most importantly, your flow of traffic of those pets around your space to ensure that you're not triggering people who are already, stressed out? Make sure you're being conscientious of them. Everybody always asks about animal bites, just as a safety feature. I would say to you that of all of our clients that we have dealt with, all of our organizations, it is such a rare occurrence. So please don't stress about that. And then cleanliness. I mean, we're always worried about the cleanliness of our shelters. COVID especially brought that into very sharp focus for us. But of course, people are worried about our animals going to contribute to that mess and mayhem. So when we're talking to our partners and when we're doing our trainings, it doesn't really matter what design strategy you employ. They're all going to have these kind of common design elements, and this is a huge part of that design checklist, if you will. What's it going to look like to intake your pets? What is quarantine? I wish Katie was presenting with me. She is my partner in crime over at Red Rover. And every time she hears the word quarantine, she thinks like zombie apocalypse quarantine, which makes me giggle. Quarantine can be very easy. Don't stress about it. It really just means that pets are not going to be interacting with each other. And we advocate for that anyway, regardless of your quarantine. But lots of your pets are going to come in and they're not going to be up to date on their vaccines. And what are you going to do? You're going to have a process for that. Flow of traffic, we already briefly mentioned, but that is a very important part of your design strategy. Where your pet space is going to be. How are they going to get outside to go to the bathroom? Are they going to have to walk by common areas? What does that look like? Mitigating allergies, as I sit here and sneeze and cough. Sorry, hotels are terrible for me. We talk about a ton of strategy for that. Most is going to be cleaning up those allergens. How do you design your spaces to make them really easy to clean? Enrichment, that is just a reminder for us to talk to everybody about how do you keep your pets mentally and physically enriched, engaged. A happy pet is a quiet pet, is a less destructive pet. So you really do need to consider that. Human animal bond. When you think of the human animal bond, obviously, if pet parent is going to be with their pet in their room, that's pretty easy. But if you're going to be kenneling and employing that kind of strategy, what are you going to do, especially for a longer term stay, to get those pets out of the kennels and give their pet parent time to really bond and hang out with them so they can all heal together and have fun? Doggy daycare. Please do not think I am asking you to create this huge doggy daycare space. It is just a reminder that people are going to have to go to appointments. They're going to have to go to work. What are you going to do during that time? Are they going to go in a crate? Are you going to have another strategy? Are you just going to make sure that they have soothing music and toys to keep them happy and healthy in the room? Choice is yours. We're just here offering options. Storage. We're going to talk about fundraising a good bit in our training. But when you start these programs, use that field of dreams strategy. If you build it, they will come. Pet programs are an excellent strategy and an excellent way to make your fundraising stories more cute and fuzzy. Uh, but you really will have storage needs. You're going to have big bags of pet food. You're going to have crates. You're going to have some bedding, some toys. It doesn't need to be huge, but you do need to consider it. So Pet Plan One, the take home with Pet Plan One is really, it can be as simple or as complicated as you like it. I threw some crazy designs in here that we've done over the years, but really the only thing you need to consider is that how are they going to be housed in there? Make sure they're comfortable, make sure they're enriched, make sure they're easy to clean up after. Throw in a litter hider instead of just throwing a litter box in there. If you can't do a cat cubby to get cats off the floor, just go to Lowe's or Home Depot, buy some shelves. Throw a shelf up on the wall so that when you have multiple people living in one small space, the cat has a space to get up off the ground and really feel secure. And then again, just cleaning. All those hardwood floors that we see in our New England old homes that have been converted, get those covered. They're impossible to keep clean. They're not as disgusting as rugs in terms of the stories they could tell, but pretty close. So not okay. This crazy picture is me blowing a hole in a wall. If you could if you could put your pet rooms on an exterior wall, we love doing that because then you can put in a dog door. They can be secured very tightly, but it allows your pets to come in and out as they wish, which keeps them mentally healthier, keeps your spaces cleaner because they can go out when they need to go to the bathroom. It's just better all around. Pet plan two. Um, One of my favorites to design because you have so many creative options that you can do. But that flow of traffic becomes super important. So we always advocate for runner's leashes. Not this terrible picture, I'm sorry, that I found, but a very shortened version of that. It's a great way to keep people hands-free while keeping a pet tethered to them. But have fun with it. If you're doing a bunk bed strategy in a large open floor plan, you can have a crate. If you're doing cots, you can remove maybe one cot or have a pet crate at the bottom. Lots and lots of strategies, but you do have to get creative and you have to be mindful of your flow of traffic. Sometimes we advocate for just putting, X's with colored tape. Follow the X's. That's the path your pet can take. But that allows people who are afraid of pets to really avoid those spaces. If you want to get a little more creative with them or a little bit more permanent in structure, I loved these actual sheetrock wall cubbies that you can do because you can put electric in them, so they can be charging phones in there. They can have a light. They can be storage under the bed. You can put a crate in there. Gates like this that slide into the wall allow a pet to come off leash a little bit. You can't be left in there off leash, but it definitely gives a little bit more freedom and a little more personal space. You can accomplish a similar thing with just using those cubicle wall dividers, a little bit less expensive, but not nearly as cool as the walls themselves. Pet plan three seems no matter where I put my head, it's always going to be in the way, right? Pet plan three. So converting an existing space. Not everybody has a junk room like me. But we all do, it seems. I love to advocate for, hey, let's get those Christmas ornaments and Easter ornaments out of the junk room and out into a shed, and let's use that heated and cooled space for pets. So you can create an existing room, be it an old office that's not being used well or a storage room. You can also use a garage. Garages are fun. You can use them and divide them up into what I'm going to show you in a second, our pet retreat style, where it's like a little living room for people to hang out in. But if you're going to do the kenneling, please make sure you incorporate that human animal bond space. These kennels were actually indoor outdoor, so also great. Maintain some of that house training. Let the dog be able to go outside when it needs to go to the bathroom. Pet plan 4. So pet plan 4 is when you're adding a new structure. So whether it's an addition, like I said, or a drop building, we love sheds. You got to make sure you heat them and cool them, but the sheds are really neat. You can divide them up and create discrete little living room spaces like this. And we love those because of that preservation of the human animal bond. A person could go out there, spend time with their dog, spend time with their cat, and they're multi-species. You could have dog and cat together if they're a bonded pair from their house. Um, or you could, excuse me, like I said, allergies are a killer. So you can design them for either dog or dog cat combo. Multiple dogs can go in them. It's just so much more versatile than kenneling. And yet it has the waterproof floor, has a dog door. You've heated and cooled it. The walls are waterproofed. This one looks pretty, done up because we were doing it for pictures, but it doesn't need to be this fancy. But you just want really cleanable materials. Super fun way to go. In the workshop, we will walk you through kind of the ups and downs of each of the pet plans, really discuss what might work for your organization more than one of the others. But there's lots of ways to go. For the animal shelter folks, really what we're concerned with is the security. So maybe we would advocate looking at your shelter for adding another door or separating when pets are dropped off in time if you can't do it in space. But it's really just a matter of, coaching them on how to make sure to keep pets safe. Don't put them on the adoption floor where an abuser could see them. Don't put them on the adoption floor if, they've are a pet parent of somebody who's been living on the street for a while and maybe hasn't been groomed. It's not good for your shelter. It's not good for the security of the people, the pets. And the only other thing I would say that we advocate for at the animal shelters would be creating a visitation space if you can. It's really great way to keep that pet and that pet parent bonded over a long length of stay, perhaps. This new program that we've started, we're really excited about. Long time we have been kind of overlooking the Code Blue overnight shelters. We've done a lot of visitation. We've done a lot of meetings and communication with organizations that are doing this, and how do you deal with a pet that is coming in for the night and then leaving? How do you do that safely? Most of our Code Blue shelters, at least where I live outside of Philly, are very crowded. They tend to be in places of worship. So they need to be set up and broken down every day. And obviously you want to be a good partner. You don't want to be, having a situation where maybe a dog has gone to the bathroom in there. You want to be a good partner. You want to be a good provider. Um, Lots of times we hear that clients don't want to let their pets go into foster. They don't want them to leave the premises. That trust piece is really hard to build when you're asking somebody to give you their pet and it's going to leave their line of sight. And so we are in the process of designing a program where you have trailers that are outfitted with kennels. The pet can stay there on site all night. It would not be attached to a truck like this to give them that feeling that, hey, at any moment we could pull your cat out of here and off it goes. So we take the trailer, we leave it there for whatever length of stay. Most of the places of worship that we've been talking to would be amenable to parking a trailer there for the season. In Philly, we rotate, so we'll be 1 month at this church, next month we're at this synagogue. And so easy to move the whole situation over to the next place. And so, yeah, something we're really excited about piloting this year, seeing how it's going to work out. Stay tuned. So in workshop and in our coaching program, I think I mentioned this, but both of these services are free. If I didn't, shame on me. They are both free. Go to our don'tforgetthepets.org website and sign up for either. But we can walk you through all of the design process, whether it's the permitting, how do you mitigate risks, helping you select pet programs, creating budgets. We create renderings of what these spaces can look like. So definitely can help you out from kind of the A to Z step. Once you get past the building, the program structure is really important. On our website, we have a lot of different really good sample documents from organizations that are already doing this. How do you check them in? How do you, what do you do? How do you design your program to be successful? And so Katie, who does that part for us in our Don't Forget the Pets work, really talks about how do you involve staff in this? What processes are going to work for you? How do you evaluate and then evolve your program to be really flexible? And one of our partners actually told us, their program has never been black and white, and just to get comfortable with the gray. And we love that saying. We have example processes and protocols on our site. Sorry, again, just moving all over the place. From intake to what does it look like for vet care, getting those agreements and guidelines set up so that everybody is happy and safe and protected. But all of these are examples on our website. For fundraising, obviously Red Rover and my program, Greater Good Charities, my organization, sorry, are funders. So we love to walk you through our steps, but also just how do you fundraise and keep your program sustainable from your end. Think of pet programming as definitely a tool rather than a drain. Americans love to spend money on pets. I am as guilty as the next. But yeah, $123 billion we spend annually on pets. There's a lot of money in this. People love, love, love to give money to pet programming. And so we hear this on a lot of our grant follow-up reports that people want to donate to animals more than people. Breaks my heart to hear that, but you might as well work it. You got to use that cute factor to your benefit. So we will walk you through some really cool tricks and help you figure out how to help your program stay funded and sustainable. As far as our personal grants, Red Rover's grants are they are applied for in March, June, and September. Sorry. They now have a homeless part of that. So before they were primarily a domestic violence shelter grant provider. Now they have grants for homeless shelters wanting to start pet programming. You can actually get their application ahead of time so you can see what you need to fill out. I know the homeless deadline is creeping up on us super quickly, but don't you worry, they plan to keep that program going. So check them out. From the Greater Good Charity side, our rescue rebuild renovation grants, we have separate ones for domestic violence, for homeless, and for animal shelters. They are year-round open enrollment. We do offer grants that are cash grants where we do not come out and do the building. But either way, sign up. We can help you with the coaching, the design, and all of that. And whether we write you a check or come swing a hammer on your property, either way, we will help you get those pet programs started. In addition to our stuff, we do have other funding opportunities. So go check out our don'tforgetthepets.org website, like I said. And then check out our upcoming events, because in addition to our in-person and virtual workshops, we have these really cool special presentations sometimes where our partner organizations hop on and talk about their stuff. So we've had vetting partners on there talking about how to interact with vets, how to find vet partners, all sorts of really cool partner presentations. That is also where you go to sign up for coaching. And then we have a really cool video and blog library. So lots of our frequently asked questions, so to speak, we've created into these one-pagers or these blogs. And so those can be really helpful with little fact tidbits. In our videos, we have what we call our deeper dive videos, where we talk about, allergies and pet programs and how to build out these spaces and how to set up your program. But then we also have some of our canned old special topics webinars on there as well. We have a newsletter that you can check out and sign up for. That'll tell you our grant announcements and all sorts of other cool things. And then, as always, if you can't find it on the website, reach out to myself or to Katie Campbell. We love to help you get these programs started. So hopefully we will see you all in the future. And thank you so much for joining us today.